person up whenever we get ready.
Hey, my question is on the legality of abortions, specifically how abortion can be legal, and at the same time, if someone was to murder a pregnant woman, they would go to trial for double homicide, and how do those not contradict each other?
They do contradict each other, which is why the state of New York just made it so that if you kill a baby in the process of assaulting your girlfriend, that's not a separate crime. Really, the only crime is the assault on the girlfriend, not the killing of the baby in the womb, which shows the unbelievable immorality of this, right? So if you walked up to a nine-month pregnant woman and you just punched her in the stomach until she miscarried, this would not be considered a crime other than the assault on the woman. It would be considered the same as if you punched her in the arm when she wasn't pregnant. Everybody knows how stupid and evil this is. And of course, you're exactly right. This is why Lacey's Law in California, as it was called, made it a separate crime to harm an unborn human being. Alrighty.
Is it me? Yeah. So, the first state to legalize abortion in case of rape or incest was Colorado in 1967. Hawaii followed in 1970. We can reasonably assume that there were abortions before then. So, if we went back to a world where abortion was illegal, how would we deal with the black market? What do you think positive or negative consequences would be of an increased amount of illegal abortions? And would we prosecute both the mother and the doctor, or just one? How would we handle it?
So first of all, I see that you're a Democrat, and so I appreciate you coming tonight. Really, it's good of you to come and have a discussion. Now,
Speaker, you're a very eloquent speaker.
well, that's very nice of you. So the answer to the question is that there's no major pro-life voice in America who advocates for prosecuting the mother. The reason that people don't advocate for prosecuting the mother is, number one, because it is counterproductive, because your goal is to convince women that they shouldn't abort their babies, not to threaten them with punishment. You want them to make the moral choice. You want to, basically, honey is going to win people over more than vinegar. But beyond that, I think that there is a real problem of mens rea, meaning that when you're talking about intent to commit a crime, you actually have to have an intent to commit the crime. So if I'm going to commit homicide upon you, then I have to know that you are a human being, for example. I think that a lot of women have been made to believe, for wrong reasons, that what they are killing is not actually a human being, and so they lack the requisite mens rea for a homicide charge, even if you were to try and game it out legally. Mostly what people on the pro-life side have talked about is prosecuting abortion doctors who make an actual business out of aborting babies. As to the increase in illegal abortions, I would assume there would be an increase in illegal abortions because all abortions would be illegal. And just logically speaking, anytime you make something illegal that occurs, there will be more illegal instances of that thing happening. And I'm sure that, when slavery was legal, then, it was legal. That didn't make it either moral, decent, or right. Once it was made illegal, then I'm sure that everyone who was holding a slave was in violation of the law. So I guess there were more illegal holdings of slaves after we made slavery illegal. But there was less absolute slavery, which is the actual goal. Yeah, you can ask a follow-up. That's fine. That's fine.
An illegal holding of the slave, illegally holding a slave doesn't kill the slave and doesn't possibly kill the mother.
I don't think you want to go down the road where you're justifying slavery. I'm
not justifying slavery. I'm saying that the fact that something increases when you make it illegal is
the illegal activity the absolute level of the activity decreases, but what's left is going to be illegal just by logical necessity.
When the illegal activity that's left is very, very dangerous, is that a good argument? Do you think that's a good argument or not a good argument?
Yes, if I have to wait, let's say that you make abortion illegal and there are 1 million abortions a year in the United States, and let's say at the high end, there are still 50,000 illegal abortions in the United States, but all the rest go to term. Okay, let's say that that's the case, because it's going to be hard to actually get an abortion if it's made illegal. Let's say there's still 50,000. You just saved 950,000 lives. That is a massive net win, obviously.
Do you think that it would go down that much?
I think it would go down extraordinarily heavily because, again, I think you'd be prosecuting the doctors. This is why you don't prosecute the mothers. Prosecuting the doctors, it's hard to make a living as a doctor while you're doing that. You actually require somebody who's relatively expert to perform an abortion.
Hey, I have a question about a little bit of a paradox. I have family that escaped the former Soviet Union, so it's about the paradox of unlimited tolerance. Any society that is unlimitedly tolerant will eventually tolerate something that destroys it. So if we tolerate people whose position is the violation of our natural rights and essentially our liquidation, we're ensuring that it'll end. So how do we avoid that?
So I think that there's activity that is obviously intolerable. For example, violent activity, incitement to overthrow the lawful government of the United States, right? All of that's illegal in the United States, and no regime can withstand it. With that said, you know, in a republic, the feeling is that convincing is going to be of more value than compelling. And that's why I spend my life doing what I'm doing, and that's why it's incumbent on all of us as good citizens to be educated in this and go out and proselytize on behalf of the viewpoint. Is it a riskier thing for a regime to tolerate dissent? Of course it's riskier to the regime to tolerate dissent. But if the inherent value you're trying to protect is the value of free speech itself, then you have no choice but to tolerate dissent. It's what makes so in certain ways it's more dangerous, in certain ways it's a lot safer. Let's put it this way. I would much rather not trust the government to pick and choose which opinions are okay than allow the government to shut down opinions that I don't like.
How you doing, Ben? Quick two-parter for you. One, I just want to get your take on what do you think the United States should be doing about monetary policy in the Federal Reserve. I personally believe the Fed should be audited and also ended. We're not getting a lot of information right now from the GAO and everything like that. And then the second part of that question is, one of the most evil leaders in history, in my personal opinion, is Roger Goodell, and why does he continue to marginalize the Patriots? And also Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports. Just wanted to get your take on that.
So I'm going to beg off the Roger Goodell question. I got nothing on that. As far as the Fed, I'm fine with auditing the Fed. I happen to be a fan of Viennese economics, as in F.A. Hayek, Viennese economics. So I'm a fan of the idea of going back to a standard for the dollar where it is pegged to the value of gold, and where it is not the job of the federal government to inflate or deflate the currency, where it is not the job of the federal government to set interest rates. I don't like the idea of a centralized bank that can be controlled by any political force trying to determine which direction the economy is going to go. Because it turns out that the Fed creates bubbles, and then the Fed bursts bubbles. It turns out that the Fed can put the damper on the economy in ways that it shouldn't be able to. And it also encourages a real moral hazard in the sense that we all rely on the Fed to keep our money safe, and sometimes our money isn't safe. And that, in turn, requires more government interventionism to maintain the illusion that our money is always safe.